really fundamentally changing consumer behavior, but also how brands need to show up. I think what we're seeing is a huge investment by, obviously we've got the standalone players like ChatGPT or Claude, but also investment by players like Google and Microsoft to bring some of that functionality into more traditional spaces like search. That's been driven by consumer behavior and that shift, and people are now much more comfortable in a conversational point of view rather than kind of searching on direct keywords. So that change is already happening. We're already seeing it. I think in terms of how brands need to think, we're moving again away from that keyword-based strategies to more of an answers first. So thinking about content that's created, really answering questions and understanding why consumers use their product or service rather than just kind of the specification of their individual product. That's kind of really key. So yeah, I think there's a huge shift in consumer behavior, but from a brand perspective, I think we're not quite there yet in terms of changing strategies. It's just about having those really strong fundamentals in place where we need to focus. Yeah, I think discovery is a really interesting point. What we are starting to see is everything can do everything, and consumers are using multiple platforms and channels to discover brands, discover information. So it's not just purely search, but it's things like discovery through social search, through Reddit. Obviously we have like LLMs coming into play. So we're really seeing this kind of shift from a siloed kind of channel approach, with each channel having its own kind of goal or objective, to really kind of having to broaden out and think of discovery as a whole. And one interesting, I guess, shift or insight that we're seeing is we're not seeing consumers replace Google with TikTok, for example, but we're seeing kind of a layering effect of users using all of these platforms, but with slightly different intent. So someone might go to Google search for product discovery, but they might go to TikTok for inspiration. So understanding how consumers are showing up to these platforms with slightly different intent and showing up differently in those environments to really tailor to that intent need, I think is key. So GEO is, I guess, big buzzword now. We're hearing lots about it. It's really interesting that we're seeing a lot of GEO experts kind of coming to market. And what I like to do is almost compare that 1 year experience of GEO to someone with 20 years of experience in SEO. Fundamentally, GEO is just good SEO. There are kind of a few little elements where we need to kind of reshape the thinking. So just because you have a traditional SEO background doesn't mean that you're going to be good in this kind of new age of SEO. There are developments. But fundamentally, the biggest drivers or impact when it comes to GEO are things like technical SEO, structured data, and then content on site. And I guess the real change there from a content perspective is that shift from keywords to actually kind of answering questions. So I think the important shift is actually where SEO is placed and the people that it's talking to, that kind of element of the business. So we're seeing a lot closer relationships between organic and paid, but also kind of insight teams, and really kind of getting to grips with why are consumers using our product or service, and shifting from kind of that pure utility to actually kind of some of those mood states, and that's where those kind of questions or conversations within AI are happening. So yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest shift, is bringing SEO kind of into the rest of the business a lot closer. But fundamentals are pretty similar.